The card-throwing Cajun King of Thieves, Gambit, is the newest strategist added in Season 5 of Marvel Rivals. Gambit is an agile, fast-moving strategist who performs combos to do burst healing and damage onto the enemy teams. He adds a new mechanic to the game called Purify, which removes negative status effects from his allies. And his character design has deep resource management, which requires a lot of patience as well as proper use of abilities and timings. He's a 4-star difficulty character, so he's going to take a lot of work to get used to. And to get the full value out of his kit, you're going to have a lot of practice. Once you get that practice in, he's going to be amazing. He has such a powerful kit and really great design, so let's talk about how to play Gambit. Finding this guide is particularly useful. Don't forget to hit that like button, and if you want to see more guides from me, hit subscribe. His basic effect is kinetic cards. This is a card toss that throws out 3 horizontal cards, spreading out from Gambit as they progress forward. Each card does a small amount of damage or healing to targets, but multiple cards can hit the same target. It has a maximum 60-meter range, and about 20 meters is how far you can be for all 3 cards to still hit the same target. Beyond that distance, 1 or more of the cards is going to miss if you're firing at the same target. With 21 ammunition, it means he can get 7 shots off of this attack before he needs to reload. That is a very low number, and Gambit needs a lot of reloads compared to other strategists. But the healing he can output per single use of his ability is rather high, making his burst healing fantastic. This ability cannot headshot, so you should be aiming for center of mass as often as possible to land the triple cards as often as you can. Gambit also has a melee strike. Using the V key or right analog stick, you can unleash an attack. He has a 3-part combo, which will deal a upward staff slash, lower smash down, and then a triple baton spin. The damage of this is not particularly high, nor does the attack rate of this happen particularly fast, so it's almost always going to be better to just shoot your cards out. But he does have an animation cancel where you can unleash attacks together using both your cards and your melee strikes to get a little bit more damage off faster. Secondary strike is Bayou Bash. This is about a 3-meter AoE explosion in front of Gambit that's going to damage enemies and heal allies, including Gambit himself. The move does about the same amount of healing and damage as his basic attack, but is an AoE splash. This is your primary way to heal yourself, as well as to do big chunk healing to allies nearby you. If you've taken any stray shots and you're not getting topped off by your other strategist, you're going to want to use this to get yourself back to full health. This ability combos with your shift ability, Cajun Charge. Activating shift allows you to dash forward about 8 meters, as your primary form of mobility across the map. You have 2 charges of this on a 12-second cooldown per charge. This combos with your Bayou Bash. After you've activated your dash, you're going to have the indicator for big, easy impact. If you activate this, it's going to cause you to do a secondary extra dash, using up one of your Bayou Bash charges to do damage and healing to all targets that you pass through, and adding a significant distance onto your dash distance, going from 8 to 18 meters. This is a really powerful but risky move within your kit. It puts you right into the action, allowing enemy players to target you, but does significant damage and healing to all targets that you've moved through, and can be a great way to top off your entire team. It can also be used as a fantastic escape option to quickly get yourself away and healed up if you've taken some damage from an unexpected dive. Both these moves having 2 charges means you have to be constantly tracking how many uses you have available at the current moment. If you think you have one ready and you don't, you're going to be in for a bad time. So Gambit's all about that resource management in longish cooldowns. Now let's talk about the 2 more complicated aspects of his kit. First off, you're going to have 4 cards across the center of your screen. These are the resources it's going to take to activate both Heal in Hearts and Break in Spades, which are 2 different modes that he can activate in the game. The E key is going to activate Heal in Hearts. Doing so is going to give you a big bonus to your healing output for 8 seconds. This is going to allow you to keep up with a lot more damage. And good Gambit players are often keeping 1 charge of their cards available to give themselves this healing boost constantly. The duration of this boost and the recharge time of one of your cards is the same amount, so you are able to keep one of these constantly active as long as you don't activate on any other ability. While affected with Healing Hearts, you get 2 new indicators, Flush and Raise. Activating one of these is going to consume the remaining duration of your current buff, as well as a second of one of your card resources to unleash a special attack. If you Healing Flush, you're going to do a Bridge Boost. This fires off a chain healing effect, which is going to bounce around to nearby allies, doing significant burst healing, and can bounce to the same target multiple times, but does first need to bounce to a second target before it will return to somebody that's damaged. After the first activation, it always bounces to the lowest health ally within range, before bouncing to the next damaged ally. This is Gambit's primary burst healing, and he's going to need to use this to save allies from significant damage sources and high power abilities that the enemy team has used. However, because of the long recharge time of cards, you can only get 2 of these off, and then you have to wait 16 seconds before you're going to get another ability use. So you don't just want to be spamming these out for damage that does not need them. You're going to want to use this as an emergency situation to top off multiple players if they're going to die from what your base healing is able to do. If with healing hearts you choose to raise instead, you're going to do a purifying pickup. This shoots 6 cards out around you, and any allies that get struck by these cards receive a burst of healing, and all negative status effects get purified off of them. This removes heal block, stuns, or any other effects that the enemy team is able to put onto your allies. It's a very powerful move, but difficult to execute on. The spread of the 6 cards is quite wide and shoots out at interesting angles around you. You need to make sure that the player that you want to purify gets hit by one of these cards, so it's a tricky ability usage. And you can easily miss all of the cards and fail to heal anybody. Although once you're up close and personal, the range is pretty forgiving to get this healing effect off. Tracking enemy ability usages is going to be really key to playing Gambit effectively because of this ability. If you know that an enemy's Strange ultimate or Groot ultimate is going to be on its way, you can hold on to 2 cards for a quick ready release of a Purify onto your team. If multiple allies get affected by a major negative status effect, you can use your dash to get into the targets and activate a Purify, exploding an AoE and removing the status effect from all allies before quickly healing them all up. This Purify effect is extremely powerful, but you're going to have to get a lot of practice in on Gambit and getting used to maximum ranges and positional uses, along with the resource management to be able to keep up with using this ability. Beyond healing hearts, breaking spades is a second option to use your cards. With the F key, you can activate this effect to get a boost to your damage output. The boost is actually pretty significant, changing you from needing about 5 hits to only needing 4 hits to kill a target. If your team's on the winning side of a fight and ready to take down enemy units, going into this mode and getting a boost to your damage output can really help you clear up the enemy forces. But similar to Healing Hearts, it also has a flush and raise option. If you flush, you're going to cast Explosive Trick. This fires off a single card forward that when it hits a target, explodes an AoE of damage and applies heal block to all enemies hit. It's going to reduce their healing received by 40% for 3 seconds. On-demand heal block like this is extremely powerful in this game. If your team is trying to take out a priority target, if you can land a heal block on that target, it's going to be much more likely that you take them down. And the difference of a single member in a team fight is significant. So Gambit's ability to enable his team to shatter a target is game-changing. In spades, if Gambit chooses to raise, he unleashes a bidding barrage. This is a 6-card AoE around him. All cards that hit enemies will do a small amount of damage and knock them back a short distance. This does less damage to a single target than the flush move does, but does damage to multiple targets and sends them flying away from you. It's probably the least used of the abilities in your kit, mostly utilized to quickly get enemies off of you, or for a lucky knockoff of the map if enemies are in a poor position. With there being 6 different abilities to worry about with your cards, it can be a lot to manage, and card management is going to be a significant part of his kit because when you don't have any cards available, your power level drops significantly. Enemy players have noticed that you've burned both their cards, they can now apply a lot more pressure onto you, and you're not going to be able to keep up. So you want to make sure to only be using your cards in moments that they're absolutely required, to make sure you don't have moments where you don't have a card when you really need one. New Gambit players are often going to be double tapping their abilities to quickly get the main effect off of cashing in a raise or flush. Where good Gambit players are activating one of the 2 modes and getting advantage of the boosted effect for the buff duration before unleashing the special attack at just the right moment. Better use of the buffs is going to be what separates good Gambits from great ones. Rage in Royal Flush is Gambit's ultimate ability. Upon activation, he gets a special confirmation dialogue where he can confirm or cancel. He also gets a unique indicator in the center of his screen. That's going to show all allies that are currently alive and in front of him within range. Upon activation, it's going to apply a buff to all of these targets and purify them of all negative effects. It'll then give them moderate healing over time, increase their movement speed and jump distance, and give them a damage boost where all of their attacks will deal an extra burst of damage to the target. And applying ultimate charge accelerating to all those players as well, making them gain more ultimate charge per hit. This is an extremely powerful ultimate and really good for getting your team to win a fight. When your guys are ready to engage into the enemy team, unleashing this onto as many allies as possible gives you a major advantage, where the enemy health bars are going to shred and your allies are going to be kept topped off. But it doesn't have the healing throughput of other strategist ultimates. So this is not going to save your team as an all-out stall, and you're not going to be able to use this ability to hold a point for a long period of time. It's more so used to keep your allies healthy while you do a major push, and you want to combo this with other allies' major abilities. One of those powerful aspects of this ultimate is that it purifies your allies. So if they get affected by a major ultimate like Groot or Doctor Strange, and you're able to get this off and purify off that effect, you're going to save your team a lot of pain, as well as turn the fight now on the enemy forces. The enhanced movement speed makes it a lot harder for your enemies to hit your allies, and the increased damage is going to be too much for their strategists to be able to handle. Be careful with this ability, it only activates on allies in your line of sight. If you're grouped up with your allies, you might want to quickly jump backwards before activating to make sure all allies are in your line of sight, or at least the priority ones are. At the end of the effect, you explode in a small AoE of damage, which is handy but not something that you should focus on. Keeping yourself safe is more important than putting yourself in a dangerous situation to try and get that small amount of damage off at the end of the effect. So let's talk about playing Gambit. You want to have your allies and enemies be within that 20-ish meter range, so you can get the full benefit of your card tosses off on those targets. You're going to be wanting to focus on healing allies in chunk bursts, rather than spamming on them like most strategists do. Making sure to let them take a little bit of damage and healing them off with a bigger burst of triple cards is going to be better, so you're not reloading as often. Because you do so much healing per single ability use, you don't have to sit there spamming on your allies like some of the other healers do, and instead can take advantage of weaving shots between your allies and enemies constantly. Gambit is definitely the strategist made for duelists. He has a very duelist style playthrough, and you're going to want to get good amount of damage off while playing this character. While he does have great burst healing, and he can definitely perform as a primary healer in a 2 healer composition, he shines way better in 3 healer comps, where you can have other healers that can focus on the primary force of healing, allowing him to use his abilities in those special moments where they matter most. If your Gambit is constantly run thin, trying to keep his allies alive with bridges, he's not going to be able to purify them in those quick moments. Or if he has no cards available, he's not going to be able to put out the heal block when you need to take a target down. If there's 2 other strategists on his team, it just makes him so much more potent. It allows him to shore up their weaknesses when they need it, but otherwise focus on enabling the team to succeed. From watching some of the pros, a lot of them stay in healing hearts, keeping 3 cards available and having 1 churning all the time. They then gain benefit from that healing hearts buff, allowing them to do increased healing to their allies with their basic attacks. This also allows them to always be ready to unleash a bridge or a purify when their allies need it. Then, once the tables have turned and the fight is in their favor, they switch over to staying in the breaking spades mode, getting the damage buff and unleashing extra cards into the enemy team, focusing a lot less on healing. When they notice the target has gotten low and the enemy healers are going to need to panic to keep that target up, that's when they unleash the heal block onto them, making it so their team has a much better chance of taking that target down. Where worse Gambit players are often shooting off that heal block when the target has no actual chance of dying and waste the primary power of that ability. On the healing side, good Gambits are able to get the boosted healing from healing hearts and keep their allies alive through a lot of damage output, only doing a bridge or purify in really tough situations. Where weaker Gambits are spamming bridge onto their allies often, keeping themselves card starved, and making it so that it's a lot easier for them to get overwhelmed. If you're playing Gambit and you're often finding yourselves with no cards available, you're probably burning through your resources too often, and you need to be a little bit more selective on when you use your skills. Spend more time utilizing the full healing amount or damage amount from your buffs rather than just unleashing your special attacks all the time. And save those special attacks for key moments when they're really impactful. You're a very fast moving character with an easy to land basic attack, so keep yourself agile in moving throughout the fights. Don't just stand still spamming on targets, and make sure you're constantly moving about and jumping so you're ready to get into the action when you're needed. Using your big easy impact to do damage and healing to targets, spamming card shots onto allies to quickly top them off, or onto enemies to quickly chunk them down, and being an unpredictable menace is a key part of playing Gambit. But you need to change your playstyle up when you have no cards available. Your power level has dropped dramatically, and you're going to want to change up to being a little bit more passive with your skills, staying a bit further back, and trying to utilize your ability to spam onto allies to keep them topped off. You only really want to focus on damage when playing Gambit if you have cards available to you so you can quickly react to changing environments. And you only want to get close and personal when you make sure you have one of your Cajun dashes and big easy impacts to quickly get yourself out of there if things get too spicy. Gambit does have a quick kill combo, but it's rather difficult to perform. You have to activate your break-in spades to get the damage buff and unleash a basic attack. Then you want to shift into Big Easy Impact and turn back, unleashing either the flush or the raise onto the target, following it up with a final basic attack. For faster execution, you're going to want to use the raise effect to get the AoE effect on you and knockback to be able to turn and then blast the target. However, if you struggle with the knockback effect, you're going to want to do the quick 180 into flush onto them to make it a little bit easier to get the combo off. I definitely wouldn't recommend Gambit for new players to the game. The complexities within his kit and resource management is going to take a lot of your focus, and you need to get better at other aspects of the game first before you're ready to really drop focus for these kinds of effects. But if you have decent experience of the game and are used to the ebbs and flow of battle, Gambit can be such a powerful resource in your hands. And I hope this guide helped you have a better understanding of playing the Raging Cajun. Now go in your games and remember, Gambit never folds. I'm Zesty Fresh from Zaza Games, and we'll catch you guys next time. Zaze.